Alright, hello once again, Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College. I've been going through a series of video presentations I'm creating for the Rankin Technical College AWD, or Application and Website Development program, and in particular the AWD 1111 .NET Framework with Web Databases class. The textbook that will be used for the class for the fall 2019 semester is shown on the screen here. It is Pro ASP.NET MVC 5 and a press text by Adam Freeman. So I am going through the chapters that are in this book, all 27 hopefully, and I will be doing video presentations, one or more for each chapter. I am currently in Chapter 6, and in Chapter 6 we are talking about some essential tools for MVC. Alright, I left off on getting started with Ninject on the middle of page 125. So the author says here there's 3 stages to getting the basic Ninject functionality working, and you can see all of them in listing 610, which shows the changes made to the home controller. The author says he's going to go slowly in this section and the ones that follow because dependency injection can take a long time to understand, and he's trying not to skip anything. So in the home controller, we want to add a using statement that says using Ninject. Whoops. Not there. There. There we go. Okay. Alright, so we've added the using statement up above our namespaces. Now in our index method, you'll see what we have to add here. So it says the first stage to prepare Ninject is to prepare Ninject for use. All right. To do this, we created an instance of the Ninject kernel, which is the object responsible for resolving dependencies and creating new objects. When this object is needed, the author says you will use the kernel instead of the new keyword. So let's go up to the index in our home controller, and at the beginning, let's put in this. All right, and now we're getting an error on what we had in here before because we've already created it up above. We are getting a couple errors here. We'll have to see what happens with that. So we already talked about that first stage. I need to create an implementation of the Ninject kernel interface, which is done by creating a new instance of the standard kernel class. Ninject can be extended and customized to use different kinds of kernels, but I only need to build the built-in standard kernel for this chapter. The next stage of the process is to configure with Ninject the kernel so that it understands which implementation objects to be used for the interface being worked with. Here is the statement from the listing that does that. Right here. Oh, that's that bind. That is the statement right there. So as it says, Ninject uses C# type parameters to create a relationship the interface has been set to the one the author wants to work with as the type parameter for the bind method call, and call to the to method on the result that's returned. They set the implementation class as the type parameter for the to method. As it says here, this statement tells Ninject that dependencies on the iValue calculator interface should be resolved by creating an instance of the link value calculator class. The last step then is to use Ninject to create an object, which is done here, and it's also the last line that we have right here. Okay. Now, I went back and looked very quickly at this, and it says that standard kernel is obsolete. Use standard kernel configuration and add standard read-only kernel. So for potential fixes, it tells us system this, public this. I'm not going to do that. All right. I just don't know enough about this to do it where I think that I won't make up, I won't screw it up. All right. The type parameter used for the get method tells Ninject which interface the author is interested in, and the result from the method is an instance of the implementation type specified. So next we have to go in and set up the dependency injection. The result of these 3 steps shown is that the knowledge about the implementation class should have been instantiated to fulfill requests for the iValue calculator that has been set up in Ninject. In the following sections, the author will show how to embed Ninject at the heart of the MVC app, which allows him to simplify the controller, expand the influence Ninject has, and move the configuration out of the controller. All right? So the author says the first change to be made here is to create a custom dependency resolver. The MVC framework uses a dependency resolver to create instances of the classes it needs to service requests. By creating one of these resolvers, the author says he can ensure that the MVC framework uses Ninject whenever it creates an object, including instances of controllers. Okay? To set up the resolver, I created a new folder called Infrastructure, which is the folder that will be used to put classes in that do not fit in the other folders. Okay, so let's come in and do that first. So we will come to the name of our project, add new folder, which we will call again Infrastructure. There it is. And we are told next that we want to add a new class to that called Ninject Dependency Resolver.cs. All right, you can see it has been added here in the hopefully correct place. The contents are shown on the rest of page 127 here. So let's highlight them. So I've replaced what we got by default with this. Again, I think I'm going to get these same error messages all the way through there. My hope is that these are warnings because they're green, meaning that we really shouldn't be doing it this way. All right? Not that we can't, but it's probably something that's been deprecated. So let's take a look at this code. The Ninject dependency resolver implements the iDependency resolver that you see right here. That's part of the system.mvc namespace, which we have, come on, right here. The MVC framework will call the getService or getServices method. There's getService. When it needs an instance of a class to service an incoming request. The job, as they mentioned there, of a dependency resolver is to create the instance, a task performed by calling ninject, try, get, and get all methods. All right, there's try, get, and there's get all. The try get method works like a get used previously but returns null when there is no suitable binding rather than throwing an exception. The get all supports multiple bindings for a single type, which is used when there are several different implementation objects available. The dependency resolver class is also where the ninject binding is set up. In the add bindings method that you see down towards the bottom here, the bind and the to methods are used to configure the relationship between the iValue calculator interface and the link value calculator class. All right, that was a mouthful. I'm going to quickly go over the next little mini section here, which says register the dependency resolver. It's not enough to simply create an implementation of the interface. You must also tell MVC framework to use it. The ninject packages added with NuGet created a file called ninjectwebcommon.cs in the app start folder. Let's double check that. I don't see it, but we'll continue on anyway. Probably because I didn't run the program yet. This defines the methods called automatically when the app starts in order to integrate into the ASP.NET request lifecycle. In the register services method of the Ninject Web Common class, you have to add a statement that creates an instance of the Ninject dependency resolver class. So we'll have to add that, but before we do that, let's double check. So let's do a file. Save all. Let's, because we haven't in a while, do a build solution. And once that comes up, let's run the program. So there's my running it from index. I may get an error here, and if I do, it's no problem. All right, and it's got this iKernel, cannot load this. So what I'm going to do is stop right here. I'm going to grab this. All right, so I'm grabbing that. I'm going to go out to Google, and I'm going to put in here ASP.NET error. And I'm going to paste that in. All right, and you can see I'm going to get some answers to it. I like to look through Stack Overflow for it. All right, so I will come back and do that in the next presentation.